Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're reviewing my new Toyota Land Cruiser Heritage Edition. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Southtown Imports, aka Southtown Mitsubishi, for helping me get this Land Cruiser Heritage Edition. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. Let's get into it. Now, powering this is a super reliable 5.7 liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs with this are 381 horsepower and then 401 pound-feet of torque, and fuel economy with this is going to be in the mid to high teens. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood of the Land Cruiser, really cool boxy design. You can see how it's raised there on either side. And then with this Heritage Edition, it actually blacks out the headlight bezel, so it makes it look a little bit sportier. And then the grille here, you can see it's still chrome. Same thing here with the trim around the fog light. And we do have parking sensors there at the bottom. But yeah, putting it all together, I'm not a chrome person, but I actually think it looks good, at least when you have it in a black car like this, so the contrast is nice. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 285, 60, 18 in the front and over in the rear. You can see BBS forged wheels, finished in bronze, another part of the Heritage package. And yeah, these are definitely going to have to go. These are pretty lame tires if you ask me. But the Land Cruiser does have independent front suspension. You guys can see a little splash guard there. And then I like how the mirror caps are body painted, but then again, you got more just chrome trim there. And then you got the cool Toyota Land Cruiser badge here on the side. And then here's your full side profile with the Land Cruiser. This is where you guys can see the little basket up top. I am going to take that off for daily driving. If we go on camping trips, obviously I'll put it back on. But for daily driving, it just causes wind noise. And then take a look at the key fob. We have our lock and unlock function. We also have the opening for the hatch. And then I like how you've got the Land Cruiser logo there in the back. And popping into the back, yes, the Land Cruiser does have a tailgate, which apparently I didn't pull it hard enough, which is a really cool feature. I really like that, just for the practicality. You got a little bit of storage underneath too. But yeah, since this is a Heritage, no third row. You can actually get a Heritage with the third row for the 21 model year. They're extremely rare and extremely expensive. I personally don't need a third row, so that's why I was okay with this. And then also got the cargo cover there in the back. Now with this hatch situation, you always have to close this first, and then you can close the top. They won't let you close the top and leave the tailgate open. And also the top is very slow to close. It's hilarious. But anyways, you guys can see with the taillights here on the newer Land Cruiser. And you might be wondering about this little thing right here. This is actually the original dealership that this was for sale at. It's called Mark Wahlberg Chevy of Avon. Yes, Mark Wahlberg actually owns dealerships, and so that's where we sourced the car from. But you guys can see parking sensors there at the bottom, bezel covering the receiver hitch. And so, yeah, putting it all together, let me know what you guys think about the looks, but I love the Heritage Edition. There is some things I'm going to change, like probably chrome delete and all of that. But, you know, as it stands, really good looking vehicle. And then popping inside, you can see soft touch here at the top, and then look at the wood trim that goes across, and then more soft touch down below. And then all the windows are actually automatic in the Heritage Edition, which is cool, or Land Cruiser in general, actually. More storage here. And then you can see the seats perforated all down the center. And then I'm pretty sure this stitching is part of the Heritage package too. You got like the bronze kind of stitching. And then legroom back here is really solid. You've got little netting. We've got vents here for the rear passengers, heated seats. You've got your own climate zone as well. And yeah, these seats are so comfortable. We also, of course, have a giant cup holder armrest situation. Little click out cup holders. Kind of funny, if you ask me. And then you do sit higher, but headroom's still good. But yeah, it's kind of more of like a stadium seating position. My brain just mixed up those words so bad. Kind of like the new Bronco. And then take a look at the front door panel again. You've got that soft touch trim with the wood trim that goes across, memory seat function, 3 different settings, and then more of the soft touch. Again, all the windows are automatic, and then I like how chunky door handle is. Blind spot running with the mirrors. And then with the Land Cruiser, it's actually pretty capable, 1,320 pounds of payload capacity. And then here is the front seat setup, so just as nice as the back. And then we've got your power adjustments here on the side, and then we've got a bunch of controls here. So for like your mirror adjustment, the mirrors do power fold in. You've got that for like the parking sensors. Again, look at the wood trim, and then the top of the dash is more of that soft touch trim. Now take a look at the steering wheel. You can see the wood trim here at the top and at the bottom. Then you got soft touch here on either side. And then we got a bunch of practical controls here in the front. We got Toyota's old school style of cruise control there in the back. And then you can see like the voice command controls, all of that. And then your regular stocks here on the back. And then when it comes to the gauge cluster, it is mostly analog. You do have a little screen there in the center. You can see the fuel economy right now. We'll see how that kind of evolves over time as I drive it more. But yeah, you can see basic bits of information with this, which is a nice feature. So in reverse, we do have a 360 camera system, so trajectory lines turn with the steering wheel, you got the bird's eye view. And obviously, you know, compared to modern cars, not necessarily the best resolution, but good enough for me. And then as for the infotainment system itself, even though it's an older unit, it actually responds very quickly. Again, reminds me, a lot of this stuff reminds me of what's in the 4Runner that you can still get brand new. And then you do have physical buttons and even more down below as well, which again, I don't know, I like all the physical buttons for everything rather than having to rely on this infotainment screen for a bunch of stuff, which is nice. Now I've got a little view button there for the 360 camera. You do have stuff like collision assistance with this. That's for the hatch and all of that. And then we do have our little charging area in here. And this does come with heated and ventilated seats up front, automatic, just like the Lexus cars, little charging ports right there. And then I like you have a traditional shifter. So it's 4-wheel drive all the time, but you do have a 2-speed transfer case, so you've got 4-wheel low. You got trail turn assist. We've got Toyota's like off-road cruise control, basically crawl control is what it's called. Multi-terrain select, center locking differential. You got stability control, ECT second, and then you have ECT power as well. It does make a big difference because it's in eco mode, and when you don't have an ECT power, and you can feel like in the eco mode, it feels similar to the 4Runner when it comes to acceleration, whereas in the ECT power, it feels faster. And then you can see with the cup holders and then trim there. And then with the Heritage, again, you could get a cool box with it, but this one doesn't. This is kind of like a base model Heritage. I guess it's a 2020, so that's also a thing. They didn't have as many options in 2020. And then it's a big glove box. There's nothing fancy there. Got more wood trim across. And then we do have a traditional center up top, and they got like this soft black headliner. That's another big thing. Regular Land Cruisers have a like cream colored headliner, whereas the Heritage, it's black. So let's quickly talk about pricing. I've had a lot of people ask me about pricing on the Land Cruisers. So you'll see a bunch of these low mileage Land Cruisers. And by the way, you probably saw only 12,000 miles and basically brand new condition. You'll see a lot of these priced over $90,000, sometimes over $100,000. And the market's just not there anymore. If it's a Heritage with a third row, those do have a little bit of a price premium, but not that much of a price premium. So realistically, in today's market, a fair market value on something like this is in the $80,000 range. Again, depends on the exact spec, depends on miles and condition. Some of the Land Cruisers are now in the $70,000 range, again, for fair market value, but those are typically the higher mileage ones, and usually not Heritage, but the Heritage doesn't really have a price premium over a regular Land Cruiser because the regular Land Cruiser always comes with the third row and always comes with the refrigerator center console, which people value those two options. And so it seems like the pricing is pretty close with both of them. But yeah, that's what the market is right now. So they're finally under original MSRP. Now, will the values go down more? I don't know. I think that a lot of people are hyped up about the new Lexus GX, which is similar in size to this. But I think that once people drive that and, you know, we'll see the long-term reliability of that. I'm sure the engine will be fine, but all the new tech, I think some people are going to realize that they'd rather have something a little bit more old school, a little bit more simplistic. I mean, this is an engine that you could technically work on yourself. Whereas the Lexus, yeah, that's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens. I think Land Cruisers could go down a little bit more, but I think for the most part, since we're not going to get the actual new Land Cruiser, the 300 series in the market, in this market, we're only getting the 250. I think these 200 series are probably going to hold just because of that. But anyways, let's drive it. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both of the mirrors do a blind spot warning throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, we're gonna have to reverse that, but let us set off. So setting off in my new to me Land Cruiser Heritage Edition. So to be honest, I haven't driven this all that much. I am doing what I'll call a mild build on this. And so I don't want to drive it until I get that finished. Basically, without saying too much, I'm just going to do some things that are going to, well, for example, I do paint protection film on vehicles. So that's one thing, just so that I keep the paint nice over the long term. But yeah, until then, I usually just don't drive the vehicles all that much. Like the biggest thing is like rock chips. I don't want to get a rock chip before I go and get paint protection film put on, because the paint in this is actually in really good condition. So we're gonna pop it into the ECT power. And I mean, it's not the fastest vehicle on the planet, but it's got some power. When you're not in the ECT power, it just basically puts in eco mode all the time, which is not a problem, because again, it's got enough power, 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque. And this vehicle only weighs like 5,600 pounds roughly. So I think it's, you know, it's not sports car power to weight ratio, but I think it's powerful enough, especially with the 8-speed. It's very smooth. It's very smooth powertrain. Speaking of smooth, the suspension on this is so comfortable. When you go over bumps too, it's really good. Now, where this car is not going to do as good as other cars I've owned is big compressions. Like the Raptors with those crazy Fox shocks, they do much better over big compression compared to this. But, you know, over like small to medium compression, this does really well. Love that V8 so much. It's so smooth. Such a smooth powertrain. Like, Toyota just killed it with the Land Cruiser. And our fuel economy is down to 14.9. Not the vehicle you get if you're trying to be fuel economy conscious. Seats are really comfortable, and even though the bolstering's relatively open, it's not like the Nissans where they're so open and you feel like you're sliding off the place. Like, I feel like I'm held in for the most part. And again, you're not like taking this around corners super fast like a sports car, so it's not like you need super buckety seats. But yeah, it just drives well. The rack does create some wind noise, and it also, you know, lowers fuel economy because of the fact that, yeah, it's just a big buffeting thing up there. So that's the reason why I'm going to remove it, because when you're not using it, it's like, what's the point? Why have that? Steering, I love it. It's hydraulic, and so it's got a weighted feel to it. It's great. It's just a really good feel in your hands and everything. And so overall, I love how this drives. Basically, what this feels like to me is this feels like a big 4Runner, which I love how the 4Runner drives. It's so funny, like, as a car journalist, I'm driving all these brand new, you know, cutting edge cars. And so you think I'm gonna want something brand new and cutting edge. But the more new cars I drive, the more that I appreciate the old school stuff, because the old school stuff always turns on and it just drives better. It's not as sharp as the new stuff. It's not as exciting as the new stuff, but it's comfortable, it's smooth, and I don't know, as a car enthusiast, I prefer how this drives compared to like any modern SUV. Seriously. And look at those train tracks. Like, the train tracks don't even exist, and I don't even have bigger tires. Like, once I get bigger tires, that's gonna help out even more with the compression. So yeah, I guess to answer the question of the video with the G-Wagon and the I don't know if I'm entitled G-Wagon or Lexus GX, but basically answer the question of both those. With the G-Wagon, this is half the price, and I feel like I'm getting not the same driving experience, but a good enough driving experience for me. It doesn't have the cool door sounds, and it doesn't feel quite as tank-like as the G-Wagon, but it's really dang close for like less than half the price. And then, you know, with the new Lexus GX, I just don't care about all the new techie stuff in that, and the extra off-road capability the GX has over this, because it has bigger tires and it has a rear locking differential. I have a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. I have a Ford Bronco Raptor. So like, if I need to do more hardcore off-roading than what this can handle, I would rather take those vehicles. So yeah, and the other thing is, like, again, long term, I think the GX powertrain will probably be fine, but this will for sure do better. You can't, like, anyone who says that powertrain will be just as good, whatever you're smoking, give me some, because, like, here's the deal. This powertrain it's naturally aspirated, big displacement. You can't beat that. I don't care. You cannot beat that. And then this is not nearly as techy. Like those Lexus, nobody believes me on this. Go call a Lexus dealer. Well, actually, don't harass Lexus dealers. But the new screens in the Lexuses, the cost on them is $14,000 for the screen if it breaks. And then the gauge clusters are like, I think it's like $5,000+. So this stuff is not going to break. Like, it's boring, but it's not going to break. And so I just feel like this is a much more trustworthy vehicle over the long term. Like, if Lexus GX, if I was gonna keep it for 5 years, I'd go with that. But since I'm gonna keep this for 10, 15+ years, it just makes more sense. Let me know what you think.